Cooking is like painting or writing a song. Just as there are only so many notes or colors, there are only so many flavors. It's how you combine them that sets you apart. Wolfgang Puck. No two cooks are alike, and that's a good thing. The reason for all the wonderful cuisines around the world and all the different fusion styles that pop up each year is that cooking is an art, baking is a science, and every cook and baker is an artist. Whether you're just starting to explore your way around the kitchen or you're an experienced foodie, what you cook with is as personal as what you cook. Everyone had different preferences, from the substrate to how heavy or light the pan is, the handle, the wall height, if it has an induction base, glass or steel lids, and so many other features that are a very personal choice. No two pans are alike, and as are no two chefs. When you look up top lists, often it gives you a ranking from top to bottom, a top 10 list. But it doesn't take into account the individual differences and preferences. That is where the Good Housekeeping Institute comes in. They approach product evaluation in a much more meaningful way. We get to explore their methods and findings today. Welcome. My name is Frank Grosbeck, and you're listening to What's Cooking with the Cookware Manufacturers Association. Today, we're excited to have Nicole Papantonio, Deputy Director of Kitchen Appliances and Technology Lab from the Good Housekeeping Institute. In this podcast, we will explore the top 10 nonstick cookware sets based on Good Housekeeping Institute's testing and the unique and more meaningful way they present their findings. You can find more about the Good Housekeeping Institute on goodhousekeeping.com and the CMA on cookware.org. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to be speaking with you again. I'm really enjoying these podcasts we're doing together.
I agree. They're great.
So I thank you again for joining us today. And just in case we have some listeners who didn't hear our last podcast, can you tell them a little bit about your position as Deputy Director at the Good Housekeeping Institute for Kitchen Appliances and Technology Lab?
Sure. So I run the Kitchen Appliances Lab at Good Housekeeping. And what that means is that I oversee all the content created about the cooking tools. And that goes from small countertop appliances to large ones like fridges and stoves, and includes cookware and tools and gadgets and accessories. And it's the dream job that I didn't even know existed for a long time.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel the same way. I feel like nobody ever taught me that the jobs I've had in my career were real. They just, and you go, wow, I could really do this for a living.
A lot. It's a great feeling.
It really is. And it's always fun to talk to people where we love what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we've found a lot in common, but also our companies have a lot in common, because the Cookware Manufacturers Association and the Good Housekeeping Institute, we keep at the forefront helping make sure that consumer products are safe.
Absolutely.
And in the recent podcast we did, we talked about the safety and proper use of nonstick cookware. Was that the inspiration for this top 10 list, or is there another reason you did this list?
A lot of our lists, and I would actually say all of the lists that we create on Good Housekeeping, there's a reason for it. And we know that it's because people are searching for them. So if we are very connected with brands and manufacturers, so we get a lot of firsthand knowledge, which is really great because we can have that conversation and see what the brand is excited about showing. We can see what the trends are saying, and we always have our finger on the pulse, as they say. And we know in terms of cookware, people are looking for cookware that'll last for a really long time. And especially for a nonstick, they're looking for something to make their cooking experience easier. And now we know this Best Nonstick Story is one of the best performing ones on our site. We know a lot of people are buying the products, and we just want to continue giving our readers more information to make a better, more educated purchase.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you test the pans for this list?
So it's a really long testing process, and it's something that we stick to the same standards that were used 20 years or so, let's say. And of course, we updated them based on new cooking methods, potentially new stoves if they're more powerful, like we spoke about last time. So we, of course, make sure that our testing standards are relevant and still up to date. one of the things that we look for is heat distribution. If you have a pan, how evenly does that heat up? And there's a lot of different factors that go into that, from how thin or thick the pan is, how well balanced it is, what materials it's made out of, and an even pan means even cooking. So that's one thing that's really important that we test for. Nonstick, especially, you want it to be nonstick. So how do you prove that something's nonstick? So we have a couple of release tests that we do, and I'm sure you're not surprised to hear this, but one of them includes eggs. And I, as a cook, would recommend using oil or butter because it just makes everything taste better and gives you better browning. It makes things crispier. But in our test, we don't use any of that. And we make sure to heat the pan to the same exact temperature that we do all the pans, and cook the egg to a certain point, flip it, and then cook it again for a certain amount of time, and then see, does it release out of the pan? Do I need to use my spatula? How nonstick is this pan? And especially when it comes to nonstick cookware, I would say that's the most important thing that we're looking for. And on top of the performance test we do, there are a few others to account for how durable the pans are. We look for ease of use, and cleaning goes into ease of use because, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but when we're talking about eggs and pans, there's nothing worse than having to cook on baked eggs. It's gross, it smells, your sponge gets dirty. So how easy is this pan to clean? Is it dishwasher safe? Because people and customers do want that option. Are there rivets? Are the rivets flush with the rest of the pan, or are they nonstick? That just poses one more area to clean. So that's something we evaluate for. And another thing that we look at too is the user manual. How useful is it? How helpful is it? Are there tips included? Because a lot of times this is a consumer's first time using a product, so they'll use a user manual and it should be useful. So performance and ease of use are the main things that we look for when evaluating cookware.
That's incredible. Sounds like it takes a long time to conduct these tests.
It does, but it's worth it. And all of the members on my team in the kitchen lab, but also in the health and beauty lab and across the board, they'll always tell you that calculating those results is one of the most fun parts of the process.
It has to be incredible to see. You must go into it thinking, you see certain products and you think it might come out a certain way. And then when the results come in, I'm sure there's always a surprise or two.
Absolutely. And it's fun. And it's the way that we format our lists and our top 10 picks. Like, you'll see that sometimes there's an editor's pick that might have not performed the best way according to our criteria, but there's something else that we fall in love with that we think is really noteworthy, and we want to tout that.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Well, I love hearing about this, and I'm going to take a quick break before we talk about some highlights from the list. To remind everyone, you're listening to the What's Cooking podcast from the Cookware Manufacturers Association with special guest Nicole Papantonio from the Good Housekeeping Institute, sharing insights on the top nonstick cookware sets evaluated by GHI. You can learn more about Good Housekeeping Institute on their website, goodhousekeeping.com, and you can learn more about the CMA from our website, cookware.org. So let's get back to the podcast. So after reading over the top 10 list, I loved how you broke it out. There wasn't just an overall best cookware set, but instead you separated the list into categories basing on attributes or different things that change the scale of rankings depending on the given product. What were the advantage of making a list like this instead of focusing on like that typical top 10?
Absolutely. First of all, everybody is different. Every cook is different. Everyone's family is different, and they're looking for different things. Everyone's budget is different. So one thing that I really like about the way we format our lists is price point. Yes, it's important, and yes, we talk about it, but we try to appeal to your best value. We try to avoid using the word splurge worthy, because we really want to give person a reason to buy a splurge worthy item. So we look at price, but you will find an array of price, a variety of price items on our site. That's number one. And then number two, somebody might be looking for something different. There's different types of nonstick material. You have your ceramic, you have your aluminum, you have just your light ones, you have ones that are way more durable. And we're trying to explain that to people so they could make a good decision buying something that works for them. Somebody might not want this to last forever. They might want it to just last for a year. They might not want to spend $100 on the item. They might just want something quick because they're transitioning in a period of their life that they're not going to take it with them to the next phase. So we're just really trying to appeal to everybody.
That's a really important point. Actually, we saw a lot of that last year during COVID. Just touch on this real quick. Some people during COVID just realized their cookware in their cabinets wasn't what it was expected.
Yeah.
And they were kind of buying not in their typical patterns. They were just really buying something.
Right.
To have something that wasn't beaten up. And now they're looking to make it a new investment. But you're right. And it's personal preference. It's with their, like you said, their budget. And it could be factors in their life right now. So it was really cool because, like you said, no two people cook alike. I'm going to give a quick shout out because in your top 10, there are 5 of our CMA members made your top list. So best overall nonstick cookware went to Calphalon Premier Safe Space-Saving Nonstick Cookware Set. Best value nonstick cookware went to Tefal Signature Nonstick Cookware Set. Best nonstick cookware for even heating went to Analon Advanced Hard Anodized Nonstick Cookware Set. Most versatile nonstick cookware went to All Clad Essentials Nonstick Cookware Set. Actually, stop. I'm going to redo this part and not say nonstick cookware set every time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So I'm going to take a quick pause here to give a shout out to our CMA member products that made the list. 5 out of those top 10 are CMA members. So best overall nonstick cookware went to Calphalon Premier Space Saving Nonstick. Best value nonstick cookware went to Tefal Signature. Best nonstick cookware for even heating went to Analon Advanced Hard Anodized Nonstick. Most versatile nonstick cookware went to All Clad Essentials. And best nonstick cookware for beginners went to Rachel Ray Hard Anodized. That's pretty awesome. And I really love those categories. You really touch on being open to the idea that everybody cooks differently and everybody wants something different.
I'd like to mention that I'm in the middle of updating this list too, because we like to stay relevant and really make sure that we're delivering the newest and latest picks. So my apartment right now looks like a store or a showroom, and there's pots and pans everywhere, but we're in the process of updating it because we do update our stories a couple of times a year with tested picks, with new picks that are really getting a lot of clout. And we, again, just trying to keep allowing the best to float to the top.
Well, we're just going to have to do a lot more podcasts together because I love keeping on top of this. I think it's so exciting, and I think it means a lot to know. I think that's a really important point for our consumers and listeners to know. You don't just publish an article. You're always updating. You're always watching. You have your finger on the pulse of what's happening. You're watching the market. That's really valuable because a lot of lists get published and then that's it.
No, we make sure that we try really hard to make sure that the items that we're recommending are available to buy. As you know, now that we've all been home, it's been a constant battle to keep things in stock. So we're constantly trying to update our stories. And right now, this is a big category test where we're testing things side by side, but sometimes we do road tests. Sometimes we're looking at other features too. So it's a combination, just again, to make sure that most important information is out there.
Awesome. Well, based on that and getting important information out there from this study, do you have advice for our listeners on what to consider when shopping for nonstick cookware sets?
For me, the most important thing when you're looking for any type of cookware set is the amount of pieces. I'm somebody who likes having a collection that is all from the same line, just because there's something about everything that matches. But that might not be the person you are. So really think about what you're cooking. Off the bat, I would recommend a 10-inch fry pan That is usually the most popular pan that nonstick companies sell, and it's just super versatile. You could use it for making breakfast, for lunch, from eggs to quick sautés, and you'll find it very, very useful. And I tend to leave mine out of my stovetop, especially now that we're home, constantly cooking, using it all day. And from there, also, I'd recommend a small saucepan, something that you can heat soups, boil an egg, something basic that is accessible. I'd also recommend a larger stock pot, and you'll find that there's a few sizes out there, but something big enough to boil pasta, something that you can make for soup. You could make a big tomato sauce in there also if you want. And I would say those are three of the main pieces to look for. And then in addition to that, you might just want something for braising. You might want a wok. You might want a second saucepan, but it really depends what you're looking for.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, that is great advice. And that just touches on that whole make it personal, make it your own little art collection, like we touched on when we started. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today, and finding the right product is about what's right for you. And I think that goes across the board for all of the studies you do at the Good Housekeeping Institute. And you just help us make it easy to find the right products that we're looking for. This has been really awesome. And thank you, Nicole, for joining us again today.
Thank you.
You have to come back and tell us more. I'm loving each one of these as we do them. So thank you so much again. And that's a wrap. So you've been listening to What's Cooking with the Cookware Manufacturers Association. Thank you again to Nicole of Good Housekeeping Institute for joining us today. My name is Fran Grosbeck, and we're recording this podcast for the Cookware Manufacturers Association. You can find my contact information and more at our website, cookware.org. You'll find this podcast and others in the members section of cookware.org website, as well as on iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, Google Play, and many more. At the CMA, we can't say it enough. Our members are our number one priority, and the association is a proven, valuable resource, giving our members access to our exclusive engineering standards with a long and trusted industry history since 1922, timely statistical reporting, resources for retailers, and the best members network in the industry. And of course, important information on topics critical to our industry via our podcasts like this one. Stay safe, be well, and happy cooking, everyone.